Lang Lang sits down to play. 2 billion people have watched him perform, 10 million albums sold. He's been called the greatest pianist of his generation and the most overrated. So just how good was he actually? That answer begins in a tiny apartment in Shenyang, China, with a 3-year-old boy who could not look away from the keys. It was not a grand instrument, just a battered upright squeezed between the sofa and the window. But for Lang Lang, those keys held a kind of magic. The spark came from a cartoon. On the screen, Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2 filled the air with wild, swirling melodies. Lang Lang watched, spellbound. When the music faded, he begged his parents for a piano. His father, a professional erhu player, saw a door opening. Within days, a second-hand piano arrived. The lessons began almost at once. Professor Chu Ya-fen, a respected local teacher, agreed to take him on. She found a child who could mimic melodies after a single hearing, fingers already moving with uncanny speed. At age 3, Lang Lang started with simple scales and short etudes, but his progress was anything but ordinary. Within 2 years, he was playing pieces most children would not attempt for another decade. The first real test came on a small stage at the Shenyang Children's Piano Competition in 1990. Lang Lang, just 5 years old, performed Mendelssohn's Song Without Words. The judges watched as he played with a poise and focus, rare even among older students. When the final note faded, murmurs rippled through the hall. The result was first prize, and a headline in the local newspaper calling him the little genius with the big hands. Whispers of his talent spread quickly. Neighbors crowded the apartment to listen. Teachers at the conservatory petitioned for his early admission. But with each new admirer, expectations grew heavier. The boy who once played for fun was now seen as a prodigy. And in the wings, his father began to map out a path that would demand more than just natural gift. What came next would test the limits of childhood and set the stage for a kind of discipline few could imagine. Each morning began with the same ritual, a clock set for sunrise, a silent piano bench, and Lang Lang's father standing watch. The apartment walls seemed to close in as 4-hour practice blocks became the rule, not the exception. Missed notes meant starting over. Sometimes a single passage would be repeated dozens of times until every finger landed with precision. There were no shortcuts. Czerny's relentless exercises, Rachmaninoff's thunderous chords, Bach's intricate inventions, all demanded mastery before breakfast. Langloren, himself a musician, believed discipline was the only path to greatness. He chose every piece, mapped out every hour, and rarely accepted anything less than perfection. Before competitions, he would recreate the pressure of a full audience by blasting recordings at full volume, forcing his son to play through nerves and distraction. The message was clear. Resilience mattered as much as talent. When Lang Lang turned 15, the stakes rose again. In 1997, the family left Shenyang behind and moved to Beijing, chasing better teachers and fiercer rivals at the middle school affiliated to the Central Conservatory. The city was a world apart, bigger, faster, more ruthless. Here, the daily regimen only intensified. Practice blocks stretched late into the night. Tears sometimes followed grueling sessions, but there was never any talk of quitting. Behind closed doors, the cost of this discipline was real. Friends drifted away. Childhood faded into the background. Yet each sacrifice sharpened Lang Lang's technique, transforming raw gift into something formidable. By the time he stepped onto the Beijing stage, he was no longer just a prodigy. He was a pianist forged for the world's toughest arenas. But this was only the beginning. Ravinia Festival, just north of Chicago. The night air buzzed with anticipation, but few in the crowd realized they were about to witness history. Lang Lang was only 17, almost unknown outside of China. He was not even supposed to play that evening. When the scheduled pianist fell ill, conductor James Conlon made a bold call. Lang Lang would step in, with the mighty Chicago Symphony Orchestra behind him. The program was Beethoven's Piano Concerto No. 1, a piece that demands both youthful fire and deep control. Lang Lang strode on stage, took his seat, and waited for the opening bars. What followed stunned the audience. His fingers danced across the keys with a fearless energy, each phrase alive and urgent. The orchestra surged with him, Condon's baton hovering just above the storm. By the time the final chords rang out, the crowd leapt to their feet. The ovation was instant, wild, and unanimous. Backstage, word spread quickly. Critics from the Chicago Tribune and the New York Times filed glowing reports. Headlines in Beijing and Shanghai called it a watershed performance. Western press described him as electrifying, a revelation. Within days, invitations poured in from Carnegie Hall, the BBC proms, and major European festivals. Lang Lang's name was suddenly everywhere: radio, television, front pages. For the first time, the world's classical music scene was talking about a young pianist from China who played as if every note mattered. That single night at Ravinia did not just launch a career, it shattered the limits of what audiences expected from a classical soloist. The Prodigy from Shenyang was now a global phenomenon, and nothing about the world of piano would ever be quite the same. Spotlights swept across the stage at Carnegie Hall in November 2000 as Lang Lang settled at the piano. He was just 18, but already Carnegie Hall felt like his. That night he performed with the New York Philharmonic under Kurt Maestro, and the reviews were instant. Critics called him a phenomenon. Invitations flooded in from Berlin, Vienna, London, every city that mattered in classical music. The numbers tell the story. By his mid-20s, Lang Lang had played with nearly every major orchestra on the planet, from the Berlin Philharmonic to the Vienna Philharmonic, under legends like Simon Rattle and Zubin Mehta. His reach stretched far beyond the concert hall. 10 million albums sold, an astonishing figure for a classical artist. His 2008 Olympic performance in Beijing was broadcast to over 2 billion people, making it the most watched piano performance in history. Online, his performances rack up hundreds of millions of streams. A single YouTube video, his take on Rhapsody in Blue, has drawn over 40 million views. Across platforms, his digital audience exceeds 250 million streams, a number that dwarfs most of his peers. Lang Lang's face appeared on magazine covers and billboards from Shanghai to New York. He became the first Chinese pianist to headline a sold-out tour in Europe and North America. Schoolchildren in China started taking piano lessons in record numbers, inspired by the boy from Shenyang who had made it all the way to Carnegie Hall. In every sense, album sales, broadcast reach, digital streams, and sheer cultural influence, Lang Lang became a household name. But as the spotlight grew brighter, so did the scrutiny. Critics and fans alike began to ask a new question. Did his fame match his artistry? Or had the spectacle outpaced the music? The debate was about to begin. As his fame soared, so did a storm of debate. In concert halls from London to Los Angeles, audiences lined up for hours, desperate to witness his electrifying performances. Fans described his concerts as life-changing. Some even wept openly at the sound of his Rachmaninoff. But not everyone was convinced. Critics sharpened their pens. In a 2021 review for the New York Times, Anthony Tomasini wrote that Lang Lang's technique dazzled, but his interpretations often felt more theatrical than musical, sacrificing subtlety for showmanship. Alex Ross, writing for The New Yorker in 2020, argued that Lang Lang's playing could mesmerize, yet sometimes lean toward virtuosity for its own sake, overshadowing the composer's intent. The divide was clear. For every ecstatic supporter, there was a purist who questioned whether Lang Lang's dramatic gestures and bold choices truly served the music or simply the spectacle. The stakes, both artistic and personal, had never been higher. Silence gripped the stage in 2020. Lang Lang, at the height of his global fame, faced a sudden halt. His right shoulder, battered by years of relentless playing, forced him to cancel his European tour. For months, the world's most visible pianist disappeared from the spotlight. Behind closed doors, he began a grueling journey of physiotherapy, relearning the basics that once came so easily. Each day brought pain and doubt, but also a stubborn hope. In the quiet of recovery, he poured his energy into the Lang Lang International Music Foundation, expanding its reach to thousands of young musicians worldwide. Then, in 2025, the silence broke. Lang Lang returned to the concert hall, his comeback performance drawing standing ovations and headlines. Critics called it a rebirth. Students he mentored watched from the front rows, inspired by proof that even the greatest can fall and rise again, stronger than before. Today, more children learn piano in China than anywhere else on earth, many inspired by one man. As classical music faces a fight for relevance, Lang Lang's impact reverberates far beyond the concert hall. Greatness now means reaching hearts, not just critics. What does it mean to you?